Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I'm Birds View Politics, and in this video I'm going to be giving an overview of the Wagner revolt against Russia and its eventual turnaround. So let's get into it. First, we have to start with the original situation. So right before Wagner officially declared they were going to march on Moscow, we had Wagner pull out of the fighting for a critical city, Bakhmut, which Russia had just taken, situated on a main railway line that connects much of eastern Ukraine, including Severodonetsk. It connects Horlivka and Donetsk to the south, and it connects Kharkiv to the northwest. So it was a major city, and Russia took it after a lot of fighting, where Wagner said that they weren't fully supplied, their ammunition was significantly lower than it should have been, and eventually the event that supposedly is going to lead Wagner to launch this uprising against Russia, or at least what their leader Yevgeny Prigozhin claims, was Russia apparently attacked the Wagner forces, or the Wagner main camp, through airstrikes. So what did Wagner do? Well, first, Wagner's going to turn around from Bakhmut, which they had already started leaving, and they're going to proceed out of the war zone. And so no one really expected anything. They just kind of went south. Not much was happening. They just went south. Yeah, they left the war zone. Russia was probably a little bit disappointed, maybe a little bit suspicious, but nothing had happened. Until we learned, and this was early 2 days ago now, we have Rostov, the city right here, and the Wagner Group is going to take control of one of the main military facilities in Rostov. And this is huge because Rostov is the main city to the southeast of Ukraine. It's the main headquarters for the Russian invasion in that region, and also a major supply area for the Russians. So when Wagner took over this one major military installation, that was when the whole world went, wait, what? Because, I don't know about how many Russian attempts there has been to try and fight Wagner, but Wagner has never really tried to fight back in any substantial manner, and now all of a sudden they were attacking essentially a major city in Russia, and certainly a major city for the invasion itself, which is Rostov. And immediately after Wagner takes over this military installation in Rostov, the Ukrainians start doing attacks all along the front, especially around Donetsk, because they realize not only has Wagner left, but also this is going to cause chaos in the Russian rear right behind the front lines, because now they're dealing with the Ukrainians to their front, who are still in the midst of their counteroffensive, and we also have now the Wagner group, who were at this point enemies of the Russians. So what does Wagner decide to do next? Well, Wagner then declares via Yevgeny Prigozhin that they are going to march on Moscow, and it's at this point that Putin basically has had enough, and he tells them to stop, but they don't stop. They go all along this main railway right here. It's called the M4, and this railway is going to be how Wagner is going to get their troops so far north, and they're going to get them through a bunch of major cities. They're going to pass them areas such as Lipetsk, areas such as Voronezh, which they later get to up here, and then eventually they're on their way to getting to Moscow. They're east of Kursk. They're pretty close to Moscow, considering if you look on this mini map over here, that's Moscow. Moscow is obviously somewhere up here. It's not on the map, but what we know is that at this point they're here, and they started all the way down here. So this is pretty major movement by the Wagner Group, very quick, because once again they're using these vehicles, they're not walking on foot or anything, and this march on Moscow, as it's called, is going very well until almost out of nowhere the leader of Belarus, Lukashenko, is going to apparently swoop in out of nowhere, and he's going to arrange this deal where Wagner is going to give up. Yevgeny Prigozhin is going to leave from Voronezh, and he's going to go to Belarus. So there's Prigozhin, right? He's gone. He's out of the picture. And the rest of Wagner Group is going to turn around, go all the way back down. But instead of going to Rostov, they're going to go back to the front line. So that's the end of the uprising right there, because once Prigozhin decides he's going to leave Russia, he's going to Belarus, there was no chance of any attempt to overthrow either the Russian military leadership or the Russian government. He was always going to turn around, and the Wagner Group was going to turn around. So now the official situation is Wagner Group is now under the control of the Russian army, and anyone who chooses to is given amnesty so long as they agree to continue fighting for Russia. While Prigozhin is stuck in Belarus, he can't really do anything, and I highly doubt that Putin is going to leave him alone, especially because he's in an allied country of Russia. He's not in Germany or the US or someplace where he could credibly gain some sort of way to survive or escape Putin. He's in a very much Putin-allied state. And the thing that makes this a little bit suspicious to outside military observers is we know that Belarus has always been the little partner in the Russia-Belarus partnership. Belarus was about to collapse in the midst of a bunch of rioting following a rigged election that Lukashenko probably lost, but we aren't ever going to get proof of that. And we know that Russia themselves sent in 1.5 billion rubles to go help Belarus through a loan, and they also sent in their own Russian peacekeepers to prevent any uprisings. And so the Belarusian army later on, Russia at the beginning of the war would invade via Belarus and go down the Dnieper and eventually try and attack Kyiv from multiple directions. But as we know, those failed. So that was never going to be a long-term issue for Ukraine following that. However, Belarus has reemerged as a major player because of this deal, because Lukashenko for a while had been trying to court both sides. While maintaining an unabashedly pro-Russian stance, he also had been trying to be friendly with the EU. He was part of a group that was trying to work towards EU membership, although this was later suspended due to Belarus helping Russia in the war in Ukraine. And Belarus has kind of lingered around since as a Russian ally, but definitely not a Russian complete satellite state. Here, this was where Belarus might have been able to repay the debt, or at least Lukashenko was able to repay the debt that he personally owed to Putin for saving him and keeping him in power during those riots following the election. So, that's the story of the Wagner revolt thus far. There probably will be a few more updates in the coming days, which I'll put in the community section on my channel, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.